Did you catch and release or catch and bring?
Oh no, I have a freezer full of fish right now.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Do you eat it?
I will.
Did you mail any of them?
No. We took it all to. There's a place in the town that we were at that does processing. So you just catch your limit and you take it by there and drop it off and pick it up a couple days later.
Do they pack it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I had never gone through that whole process, but basically you just pick up this big box and then you just treat it like luggage, just drop it off at the airport. So it was waiting when I got home.
Did you have fun?
We did. We had a really good time. It was a bunch of college friends, and I mean, some of them I haven't seen in close to 30 years, so it was a really good time. It was a lot of fun. But it also, when I say that out loud, that makes me feel like really old. It was like 30 years, but anyway.
Sorry, I had to get my fuel.
That's okay.
Poor Pam doesn't have hers, so if she goes berserk on us.
Do you need one from the fridge?
Why not?
Is it Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper? What's your
It's Dr.
Dr. Pepper?
Sure. There is one in the fridge.
You go ahead and get it started.
Yeah.
Let's go. This is awesome.
It's her birthday. It's her birthday.
And two, then absolutely happy birthday. It's not every day you turn 28, so it's my mom's birthday today too, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
My youngest daughter just turned 39. It's amazing. We're the same age now.
Yeah. My mom has turned 28 for a couple of years now. I was about to count, but I don't need to. So that's awesome. Are you doing anything special today?
No, I'm not.
Is that a good thing? Just kind of.
They brought me a donut.
Aw,
Nice.
that's awesome.
She stick a candle in it.
Yeah. Say if Millie just sings you happy birthday, I think that's all that I would ever want or wish.
Yeah.
So that sounds
And
good.
she will.
Yeah.
She's so cute.
Amazing.
Goodness.
I mean, she has these stories. She tells all these stories.
The never-ending story.
Yeah.
It's weird.
We read a book when Drew was little, and that was the name of it, The Never-Ending Story, and it was fantasy about. It was kind of like some of that.
Is that the one that's the movie too?
Yes.
The kid on the
Yes.
dragon.
I'm
That's
trying
what I'm
to think
thinking.
how to- yeah.
That was a book before.
How to describe it? No, he just we just read it.
Okay.
But
You didn't have to do that.
and every once in a while I think, yeah, that's not the only never-ending story.
Yeah.
Especially when you're listening to a little kid, because
Yeah.
their stories do last a while.
Yep. I asked all three of our kids, "What'd you guys dream of last night?" And I just got some little bitty things. And Faden went, "I don't even think this was a dream at all." He was like, "Here's an opportunity to tell a story." And there was a dinosaur at Gammy's house that he turned into a dinosaur, and he kicked the dinosaur into the pool. I was like, "Wow, this is great."
I feel like
He's got my
he's
creativity.
making that up as he goes along.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that was any
That
part
wasn't
of
the
the
actual dream, yeah.
If there was any
But
dream,
there was
it
a
may
basis
have.
to it, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
that's how I can even remember it. Telling my mom stories that it had a basis of a dream, but then I kind
Oh,
of
sorry.
embellished on
Embellished.
it to tell the story.
Embellish a little bit. You've got to.
Okay, let's jump into it. Mark chapter 6 is where y'all left off last week.
Just like Marshall multiplied the Dr. Pepper, so too Jesus is about to multiply.
Yes. So there's a lot. I think I told you guys a couple weeks ago, Mark chapter 5 is one of my favorite chapters, just of all the stories of Jesus. But Mark chapter 6 ranks high up there too. There's a lot of stuff going on.
So there's a lot of things happening.
So Jesus, just to catch everybody up, Jesus has been in his hometown. They didn't believe in him because he's just the carpenter's son, so he couldn't do any miracles there. Not because he didn't have the power to, but because they didn't really want him to. He sends out his apostles. He's already given them power back in chapter 3. Is that correct? I think to preach and cast out demons and those kind of things. But or at least that's why he called them to himself, for sure. But then he sends them out to go do those things. And so they go out and they preach, and they're sharing Jesus' message, and they're performing miracles. And we don't get a
Recap. That would have been nice.
yeah, I mean, or just even like a play-by-play. Like, there's nobody walking along cataloging what all that they were doing, which would have been nice.
Andrew did this. Peter said that. Angered this guy.
Yeah.
And this happened.
So there's a lot of miracle working, and a lot of preaching and repentance and those kind of things going on. And what Brandon led you guys in last week was talking about this guy Herod hearing about this and thinking, there's this guy that I killed that has come back from the dead, which is John the Baptist, and we heard about him back in chapter 1, preparing the way for Jesus. And so this is Mark's way to be like, okay, let me pause the story right here, and let me explain why Herod and other people thought that John the Baptist was back from the dead. First of all, let's explain how John the Baptist died. So it goes through that whole process, which you guys talked about last week, with all the soap opera of Herod and Herodias and people divorcing and remarrying. And anyway, John ended up getting his head cut off, and that's how he died. And so obviously that would be troubling to Jesus. John was his cousin, but also kind of his forerunner that kind of prepared the way for him. And so there was a closeness that they had, and for him to meet his demise in such a violent way was troubling for Jesus. Matter of fact, some of the other Gospels go into a little bit more detail about how just receiving that news that happened to John was very troubling for Jesus. And Mark doesn't spend a whole lot of time on that here in chapter 6. It's more like if you're watching the movie of Jesus' life. I have to do this sometimes more often with my wife than my boys, but like if you're watching a movie on Netflix or back in the day we used to be watching the videotape, of a movie, and she's asking questions. Well, wait, who is that guy? And you're just like, click. Okay, here's the deal.
It's your fault for watching like Lord of the Rings or something. Though,
yeah, exactly. And you got to pause it and be like, here's why this is happening, or here's okay.
And there's a problem with it?
And then I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's more often than not. That's who it occurs with me with. So then, okay, play, and here we go. That's almost what Mark did here.
Yeah.
Because it's not Jesus by himself that's performing all these miracles and teaching. It's his disciples that are doing it, but it's all kind of centered around him. His name is growing. His message is growing, and Herod hears that and is like, I thought I got rid of this guy. Is this the same guy that's come back or whatever? And so Mark does it. He'll do it in chapter 7 too, where he'll just be like, just so you know, let me explain why he would say that, or why people would say that. Okay, now play. We're back to the movie again. Does that make sense? So that's where we are today. Is that pretty good? That was a brief recap.
That was great.
Okay.
I have some questions about that.
Okay, go ahead.
I figured.
All right.
Probably
I'll let
last
you.
week if it was just me, yeah.
Okay. So let's start in Mark chapter 6. We'll start with verse 30 and read down a ways. We're going to get several verses here. Verse 30, the apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all that they had done and taught. And then because so many people were coming and going that they didn't even have a chance to eat, he said to them, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. And so they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. And when Jesus landed, he saw a large crowd, and he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And so he began to teach them many things. By this time, it was late in the day, and so his disciples came to him. This is a remote place, they said, and it's already very late. Send the people away so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. But he answered, you give them something to eat. They said to him, that would take 8 months of a man's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat? How many loaves do you have? He asked. Go and see. And when they found out, they said 5 and 2 fish. And then Jesus directed them to have all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. And so they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. And he gave them to his disciples to set before the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all, and they all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces of bread and fish, and the number of men who had eaten was 5,000. So we'll stop right there. Okay? Now, as far as this story goes, this is I think, tell me if I'm wrong, I think this is the only miracle that is mentioned in all 4
Yes, I think you're right.
of the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all 4 of them talk about this one. And some of them will talk about some of the same ones, but all 4 talk about this one. So that leads some credence to it, first of all. But this is probably one of those miracles, especially if you've been, if you've gone to church for a while or done Bible study for a while, this is not an unfamiliar story to you. But, and I don't want to get into, we'll get into as many details as you want.
So we can go with whatever reads that we want.
We can go as deep or as shallow as you guys want to. But I want to, first off, just look at what led to the performing of the miracle in the first place. What necessitated it, okay? So if you just kind of remove the story of Herod and Herodias and John the Baptist, just take that out, you can kind of keep reading through with, the disciples went out and they were preaching and teaching and performing miracles, and then the next thing that happens is they come back and report everything to Jesus. So we're kind of picking the story back up from where we were, where we were earlier in the chapter. When they come back and report to him, you can just kind of imagine if you've been given the ability to preach and you've been given the ability to perform miracles, but also what did Jesus send them out with? Besides a message and besides power, what else did he send them out with? The answer is nothing, right? What did he tell them to take with them? Nothing. Don't take any money. Don't take extra clothes. Just go rely on the good nature of friends and neighbors and people who might be kind to take you in their homes, and that's it. So that in and of itself would be kind of a story. And we don't know for sure. It's like, was it, a few weeks, a few days, a few months? We don't get any details as far as like how long did they go out and do this. So they would all come back with stories. I went last week on a vacation. I had a whole bunch of stories to tell my family when I got back yesterday, right? That's what we do. If you go on a trip, you go do something, you got stories. And you come back and you tell people those things. So imagine just like leaving your wallet at your house and going and like, let's just see what happens.
Not even extra underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever you come back, obviously you would have stories, right?
Yeah, especially if God really is going to do things through the disciples.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like going on a mission trip and then dividing out for however long, but without any provisions. Like, leave your passport. Okay, all right.
Let's just figure it
and
out.
then go out there and then come back. And if those things really happened, like if they're really expelling demons and proclaiming repentance and healing people, this is like these are teenage boys, right? That's an interesting story. I got one better.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you landed a hand or you healed a hand
you healed somebody's
feet.
fever.
Yeah.
I helped somebody walk again. Oh yeah. Well, somebody,
It wasn't a legion of demons, but there was a lot that came out of that guy. Like they would be one-upping each other, and honestly, I think that Jesus probably would have been laughing along with them, like, "Whoa, just like this! Look what God has done through these imperfect guys."
Yeah, and I wonder. I feel like. I don't know that they would necessarily be in competition, like trying to. No. They struggle with that. We're going to come across that later. How they struggle with like who's a better disciple. But when you just when I used to take teenagers to Minnesota every summer, and we'd go, paint houses or clean, just these different service projects that we do, and we get back at the end of the day. Everybody goes out. We have like 3 or 4 different projects that we're all going to, and everybody meets back at the church building. Well, what do you do immediately? Like, what'd you guys do? And you talk about it. And you talk about like we, cleaned out this really gross stuff. Oh, well, we were up, high on ladders, and we, everybody just kind of tells their story, and you're excited about it. And it's not out of jealousy. It's like I want to hear your story, but then I want my turn to tell my story too. And so Jesus wants to. Carve out some time for that. Let's hear the stories. And let's share with each other. Like somebody asked this question, here's the answer that I gave him, and just kind of process through all that together. So he's like, let's get off by ourselves, because what does Scripture say? There's so many people that are what?
They're
just coming and going. Please come heal me, or I've got a question, and they're important questions. They want to show compassion. They want to help, and Jesus is like, we need time to just kind of enjoy what has been accomplished, but also like let's talk through it a little bit. Let's see, maybe there's some things that we didn't handle as good as we could have, and let's improve that.
Well, he says he wants for them to go and rest a while. So
Yeah.
let's go out to a little desert place where it's just us. We can rest and relax a little bit, and also they were hungry. They didn't bring snacks on the journey.
We still
They came back,
don't have our stuff.
And they haven't had time to eat, and because so many people are coming and going, Jesus, out of compassion for them, is like, that was an amazing thing that just happened. We need to carve out this time, and y'all haven't even eaten yet. Like, you guys are expending yourselves so much. That's church work right here.
Yes.
It's like they don't even have time to eat. So he's like, let's go and retreat a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's go and take some time.
Yeah.
And they just learned about Paul's death, too. I mean, not Paul's,
John.
Yes.
about John the Baptist's death, too.
Yeah.
Quite possibly, yeah.
They may be working through some grief.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
to have all of that happen and to have that looming over them as well, and people like, let's just take some time, take a couple of days.
So Mark doesn't give us any indication exactly where they went to, but they at least make an effort to go by themselves. And again, Jesus, whenever he tries to get away from the crowd, usually his go-to is to get into a boat. So they get in a boat and they start going somewhere. So apparently everybody is watching the direction of the boat as it takes off, and they take off as well. So I don't have a picture of it, but if you have what's up with her
I don't
thing,
know.
by the way?
For some reason, it's not.
That's weird.
If you look at the tiny computer screen over there, you can see.
Yeah, we can hold this over here.
I don't know why
That's like ancient times. I don't even know what that is. So if you look at the blank screen.
So Jesus is right here.
No, but the Sea of Galilee, I mean, we talked about it before. It's not a complete circle, but it's almost like an upside down teardrop. Can I put it that way? But there's towns all around it. And some of your major towns are Capernaum. We talked about that before. To about 7 miles to the east of that is Bethsaida. About 6 miles to the west of it, kind of southwest of it, is Magdala. There's a whole bunch of different towns. And so Scripture says, word spread. Wherever it is that they're going, there's people that are either running along shore or running close to the road, running down the road, but close to the shore where they can kind of see, oh, there's the boat out there. Okay, they're still going. And as this crowd of people is running down the road, there would be other people going, where are y'all going? Well, Jesus is, we're going to go see Jesus. And so there's more people that are coming, and it just kind of becomes this swell of people that are all running down the road. And by the time whatever the remote place was, the solitary place was that Jesus and his disciples were getting to, as soon as they pull up on shore, what do they see? This huge crowd, bigger probably than the one they just left, because there's so many people coming and going they can't even eat, and those people have run along the road with them and have picked up more people along with them. So now there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people all waiting to see Jesus. Now, go ahead.
No, I'm just imagining if we're doing like the mission thing that the rabbi just sent us out to go do mission work. We did a lot. We didn't have, we operated in faith. We didn't have an extra tunic or, a wallet and stuff like that. So we're tired. We're performing miracles. There's a lot going on that I am just trying to process if I'm a disciple. And Jesus is like, man, this is great. Let's go to a remote place. If I'm a disciple, I'm sitting in the boat like, oh man, we're going to, even if it's a desert place, like a place just to take a deep breath. This is going to be great. As you're going, because you can see clear to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. So you'd be able to see the boat out there and be like, what is this big dust cloud over here? That's like coming parallel to where we're going.
Keeping up with us,
It seems to be getting bigger and stuff too. And they're ready. I'm just thinking, you spend all day out there doing mission work stuff, thinking about my time in Honduras and all of that, and just how tired and spent, body, mind, soul, spirit, the whole thing. Like, this has been a big day. I am really excited to sit in a hammock or a chair, just a chair with some water. That'd be great. And that's probably what they're anticipating. It's like, oh, they're following us. They're going to meet us there. And so the disciples are probably like, oh, man. And they still don't have snacks. We still don't have snacks. That's very important.
Yeah. So it would almost be, I think, because Mark makes special mention in verse, is it 32? 30? Yeah, 32. They went by themselves. This isn't like a bunch of boats. This isn't extra people in the boat. It's just us. And there would be an anticipation of just, I mean, they'd already be kind of relaxing on the water, I think. Just like, we're away from the crowd.
Yeah.
And then as you come up to the shore, you're like, oh, God, there's more people. And I'm not faulting them. I think that's a natural response. If you're already tired and you're already hungry from being around people, the last thing that you want to see is what?
People.
More people.
They're people
right?
out, man. No more people.
But what's Jesus' reaction when he sees the crowd?
He has compassion.
He has compassion. And that word actually is connected to the Greek word for your innards.
Which is super, super interesting.
Which means like he felt it in his guts. He was like, these people. And he was very moved for them. Because why? Verse 34. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them. Like sheep without a shepherd. They just look lost. And I mean, Jesus uses a lot of shepherd analogies and sheep and shepherd analogies in his teaching. But sheep, they have to have, I mean, you go back to the Old Testament, they have to have some kind of direction. They have to have somebody lead them to water, to grass. They'll find it on their own, but a lot of times they'll find it in very dangerous places. And if they don't have a shepherd that's guiding them, they'll wander off into places where, they'll wander off in the wrong direction and end up without food and water and die. Or they'll walk into, because their eyesight's not that great, they'll walk into a river, and drown themselves. Or I'm saying they need somebody to guide them. And Jesus is looking at this crowd that, I don't know, there's just something about them. I don't know if they're clamoring for him or if they're just sitting in anxious anticipation. What is he going to say? What is he going to do? I mean, but he looks at them and he sees these people need direction, not just healing. I'm sure there were people in the crowd that just wanted to be healed, but they're starving for something. And he has compassion for them. He's moved by that need. And they may not even realize what it is that they need. No. But they need something, and he recognizes it. And so he starts teaching them. Began to teach them, verse 34, many things. Okay?
And that's all we really get from that sermon or teaching and stuff.
Yeah. It's just teaching a lot. So it gets late in the day, and so his disciples come to him and say, what?
Send them away.
Yeah.
We're hungry.
You can imagine Jesus, is in mid-sentence, and this is what God wants me to feel. Exactly. That's what I picture the disciple going, hey, Jesus, sorry to interrupt.
5,000 people in attendance here.
But the way they worded it was like these people, trying to make it sound like it was those people that were hungry.
Yeah,
and
right.
They were starving.
Oh, yeah, because they still haven't eaten yet. They haven't had any time to eat, right? But they say this is a remote place. There's no food around here.
Nope. And the hour is late, so the sun's like, if it's not going down, we're already watching. Like, Jesus, it's coming.
Yeah. And so they, at least, if they're not sincere, they at least mask it as being concerned about the people, okay? And maybe they are truly concerned. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But kind of. There's part of me that's
right. Jesus doesn't really.
Yeah.
There's definitely, I totally relate, because there's definitely logic here. Guys, it's like, okay, Jesus, what's the plan for it? The sun is setting, or we're in the desert. What is the plan?
Yeah.
Because I'm hungry. They're hungry. We need to just disperse everybody and get back in together. And honestly, I mean, if you're like some of these disciples that are very organized, like Thomas or Philip or something like that, very organized and very practical, it's like, this is the way. That's the way to do it. Because the sun is set. Let's look logically. The sun is setting. Everybody's hungry. let's go take care of those needs, and they can come back. That's
Well, and there's also, you get into, I really don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but just so we understand, like in the Jewish day, the day ended when the sun went down,
Yep.
you know, and there's a whole process to wrapping up the day, and, you know, the food you got to eat, and the rituals that you got to go through, and the prayers you got to say, and all the things to get ready for, you know, the next day. And so they're like, hey, there's a whole process
we got a lot to
that
do.
we Jewish people have to go through. Let's let people go home. But probably more than likely, they're thinking, we're tired, we're hungry, and we're still talking to people, you know? Send them home because they need something to eat. So let them go in the surrounding villages, you know, and find something to eat, okay? And Jesus' response is what? You do it.
Okay.
You give them something to eat. Well,
Okay.
they...
What happened to their faith all of a sudden? They've been performing miracles and
This is, at least for me, this is kind of what we talked about with each miracle that we've looked at in Mark. We're like, come on, guys, but like he had never calmed a storm before. He had never raised a girl from the dead before.
Yeah.
And so, at least in my mind, it's like their faith keeps on increasing because Jesus is like, well, how about we feed these 5,000 people? You want to do that? Like, I can do that too.
And
but
they're-
in their mind, they're like, so I'm supposed to do that now?
Yeah, to your point, we can heal people, but how are
Cast out
we
demons.
going to manufacture food? Like we've never seen that. We've never done that. Yes, ma'am.
What, remember, it's not in Mark, but remember back when they were walking along and they were so hungry they picked grain on the Sabbath?
Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't Mark.
They had that to think about too. He didn't just provide food for them there on the side of the road. They did something which the Jewish people considered illegal
Uh-huh.
to get food, and he used it. He used it to teach a lesson.
Right.
So his miracles are not done. I mean, yes, he had compassion on them, but his miracles are done to increase faith.
Yes.
And so, you know, I don't know. Evidently, they needed a lot of increasing with their faith. You know, I think.
I think about
They
my
did.
I think about my boys, and I cannot appeal. They're 3 and 6, so take that as you want. But there is no logic to be appealed to whenever they're hungry. Like whenever they're hungry and angry about it, buddy, I'm making you something right now. I don't care. I am so angry that you won't give me a snack because I'm hungry right now. Like,
Yeah.
here's these boys, young men, and it's like, man, I'm just hungry though.
Yeah. Yeah. They're hungry. They're tired. They're frustrated. Jesus keeps talking.
then he
And these
puts it on
people
them.
are not going away. They're not. The people aren't taking the hint. The sun's going down. They're not leaving. There's a level of frustration here, but going back to your question, Phyllis, there's no expectation in mind. There's nothing that has happened so far around Jesus that would cause them to think that you could do anything. Let's go ahead and let's get the ball rolling. If we've got, as we end up finding out, at least 5,000 men, that's not counting women and children. So you got thousands of people. Like, just the logistics of that, Jesus starts sending them away because it's going to take a while to dismiss this whole crowd. You know, even if you are sincerely concerned about these people and them getting food, like, let's go ahead and start sending them now so that they can take care of that. And Jesus' response is, you give them something to eat. And I don't think it was a selfish thing. I think they were like, what? We just got back from a journey where you told us to take nothing for ourselves. We just got back from that. And now we've ridden on a boat here. We still don't have anything. And now you're telling us to, which is what they say. If we're going to buy bread for this many people, how much is it going to cost?
8 months worth of salary.
Okay. 8 months worth of salary, right?
Somebody is sitting there like,
It would take
no,
8 months of a man's wages. Now, that could just be them just coming up with a name or
Can
with
you
a
read
number.
Your sentence again, what they say in verse 37. Like, what's the words that they use?
They said to him, that would take 8 months of a man's wages.
So Jesus says, you solve the problem. And they say, okay, that's going to take 8 months worth of wages. Mine says, shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat?
Yeah. Are
And
we to go
then-
spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?
My brain goes to sometimes, it's unfortunate the way that I talk to my kids too, of like, whenever they're asking me something crazy, I'm like, okay, so you want me to take all day off today just so that I can like play video games with you? Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah.
Telling them something ridiculous, appealing to the logic of a 3-year-old, right? Which is what's more ridiculous? I think
And
it's
his
me.
answer is, yeah. that's
He's
right.
like, yeah, that. Please do that, Dad.
Yeah.
And so at least the way that the ESV, I'm like, man, that's a little that's a little disrespectful. Okay, well, did you just want us to go and buy 8 months worth of weight? Like, you want us to buy that much bread, 8 months of wages? Is that what
Yeah.
you want us to do?
Yeah. It's almost sarcastic in a way. Which
Yeah,
and
that's what I think, at least.
even just by nowadays standards. So this is notes from a couple of years ago. So I don't know if this is accurate, but a couple of years ago, a typical day's wage was considered to be 10 hours of work. A denarius is 1 coin for 10 hours of work. So at the time that I made these notes, I don't know if this is accurate or not, the minimum wage in Arkansas was $9.25 an hour. So 10 hours would be $92.50. So 200. I got a footnote that the Greek is 200 denarii. Is that what the ESV says? 200 denarii.
You're right.
So that would be roughly $18,500 in today's money. So what? That's basically what they're saying. Oh, really? You want us to spend $18,000 to buy bread for all these people?
That's where I think the sarcastic, yeah, okay, we'll just go spend $18,000, Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then Jesus goes, okay, well let's just find out how much bread we have now. What do we got? What do they have? 5 loaves of bread. Okay, and
That's
And 2 little fish.
okay,
and that's within. They go and search the 5,000 people. Is
Yeah.
that like, let's go and see bread? Does anybody have bread?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Well,
what's
because
the futile.
how many
nature of
people
this?
are coming with prepared to eat either? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, nobody's prepared for this, but they find 5 loaves of bread. So a couple things about this. Let's talk about the fish for a second. There's 3 different kinds of fish that are common to the area or the lake, the Sea of Galilee. There's a kind of tilapia that's known as St. Peter's fish.
I ate that.
Did you?
Ate that. Yeah.
Is it good?
They fried the whole thing, eyeballs and all. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Is it good?
It was pretty good.
Okay. Then there's also a kind of carp, and that was common for Jews to use during their Sabbath meals or during special feasts or something like that. And then there's a kind of sardine, and they caught
thanks.
those like every night, thousands of them. These guys go out and get a whole bunch of those, especially during the peak of the fishing season. So
Does the Greek indicate which kind of fish?
it just says fish.
So it could be 5 sardines, is what you're saying?
it could be 2 sardines.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it could be like little, or maybe a couple that are. I mean, these aren't like huge fish. I mean, I can show you the picture of the salmon that I caught. It's not going to be as big as that. Like you're
That could feed
you're
it.
not talking about very very big fish here, especially if it is a little sardine things. And then the bread, we find out from John chapter 6 these are barley loaves, and it was really a common kind of bread with the poor folks in this area. And it wasn't like fluffy, it was kind of coarse. Did you eat some of that while you were there?
Don't remember.
Okay.
The fish.
It's kind of this coarse kind of bread that would be about the size of like a large hamburger bun. So you got 5, let's just call it 5 hamburger buns and a couple of either, carp or sardines, or not carp, but tilapia or
I'm just
sardines.
seeing how pathetic it would be. We know that Andrew brought the boy that had this.
That's from, I think Luke, it
Yeah.
talks about that.
But just how pathetic it would be. Jesus like, yeah, we'll go and see what we've got. And Andrew, in faith or whatever, the little boy's like, I got some hamburger buns and then some. Well, no,
Some fish, yeah. But that's the response too. I think the disciples are like, see, this is all we got. Like,
You still want us to go
Yeah.
buy $18,000?
you still want us to give them something to eat? This is all we got. We got how many hundreds of people here? They don't even know for sure how many it is.
And the fish would be raw, not cooked.
Probably, yeah,
Dried.
yeah.
Or dry.
It could have been dry. I mean, they also they would salt them, so it could be had salted and yeah.
I'm thinking, I know we're trying to get through this. I'm thinking about like my day and age now of God's like, hey, what if I did this miracle? Okay, if he did this miracle. He's like, yeah, well, why don't you step your foot out in the water a little bit? And I'm like, oh, look at my little meager results, God. I don't think there's very much that you can really do, with this.
Yeah.
And that's just really, 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 really sad. Of God's like, hey, I'm about to feed 5,000 people. Where's like, give me a little bit, like give me a little bit of credit here. But I think that I do that pretty commonly too, where God's like, hey, I really can do more than you could ever ask or imagine. But I'm like, okay, maybe like 5 hamburger buns worth instead of like, and it's just unfortunate that I feel like there's a lot of times that my faith is like that. Because I wish I was more like Andrew of like, let's see what you can do.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with this?
Yeah. But there is, to piggyback on that, there is kind of a showing of their faith here, because once we know how much bread and fish we got, then what does Jesus tell them to do?
Get them all set up and
Okay, let's go sit them.
Yeah.
Let's sit them down in groups. Okay.
I'm following your process. He's like, okay, great. We've got the fish and the bread. Now let's get everybody sat down for the picnic.
If I'm a disciple, I'm like, for what? Like, what are we doing? But they do it, you know? So there's at least...
There is a little bit.
Even if there's some skepticism, there's still some faith here. And like, well, Jesus said, have them sit down. So and I can't even imagine how long that took. I mean, if you're going to get 5,000 people to sit down in groups of 50 or 100, they don't have bullhorns or anything. That they're just basically walking along. These 12 apostles are walking through the crowd, going, "Hey, can everybody like sit down? Like,
section yourself off a little bit.
Number yourselves off into 50, and we have 2 groups of 50. That makes 100. That's fine. Let's not be any bigger than that though. And how long would that take? I mean, how long does it take us at church camp to try to get kids into groups of 10? It's herding cats, but they
And these are sheep. These are sheep. It's a shepherd.
sheep, that's right.
They're stupid.
But they do it, and the people sit down and stuff. I'm just saying, like, I miss that piece of it for a while. Like, there's a lack of faith in, like, I don't know what you can do with this, but there's also a following through of faith of like, okay, but I think you're going to do something.
I'm prepping.
I'll have everybody sit down. I don't know what it's going to look like, but you say have people sit in groups, I'll have people sit in groups. So there's kind of a wrestling here with their faith. They're wanting to. They can't fathom something can be done, and yet they're going to get ready for something to be done.
Yeah. The people in the groups are like, is it lunch? Like, what's happening?
Well, yeah, and how do you, like, if you're in the crowd, what are you thinking? Why are we sitting down? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Dominoes, like, it's getting late.
Yeah.
It's going down. And the disciples are like, I don't know.
why are we sitting down? I don't know. Just sit down.
50. Y'all are 50. Y'all are 100.
Okay, so then they sit down. It's obviously an area where there's grass because they sit down in the grass. In groups of 40s, in groups of hundreds and 50s. And there was 41, taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish and looking up to heaven and gave thanks and broke the loaves. And he gave them to the disciples to set before the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them all. And that is all the details that we get. And none of the Gospels give us any more details than that. Yeah. And so, I don't know, have they done this one on The Chosen?
Yeah.
How they do the fish and the bread? Because I've seen one years ago when I was a kid, and there's a basket. I don't even remember what, some miniseries that I saw, The Life of Jesus. Like, I don't know, it was like on CBS or NBC or something when I was a kid. But they put the stuff in the basket, and he lifts it up to heaven while he's praying, and when he brings it back down, it's like overflowing with bread and stuff. I don't know if like every time that he breaks off some bread, there's more bread.
Regenerates.
Yeah, somehow. I don't know how. I would love to know how it happened. I believe it happened. I just can't, like, I don't.
One of the commentators I was reading, he was like, just thinking whatever it looked like, Jesus is working on a molecular level here where he's like, yeah, just like double. Just like,
yeah.
And he doesn't give, we don't know how it happens and everything.
Yeah.
On The Chosen, though, like, everybody's there and kind of listening. All the disciples are spread out amongst them, like, sit down. Like, everybody sit down and stuff. And then Jesus publicly lifts it up and blesses it. And there was a traditional blessing that they had before they ate. So, like, they're appealing to the Lord God of Abraham and everything. He's going to bless their bodies and their souls and their, their stomachs and stuff like that. And then they just start going. I've always thought of it as either like a Mary Poppins bag, just like keeps on coming.
Yeah.
That, or if any of you guys have seen any of the Harry Potters, the very last one, it's like whenever they touch something, it just goes and multiplies into 2. And every time you touch it, it multiplies into 2. So it just like keeps multiplying the more that they touch it.
It had to be no.
Yeah,
Because
it's just
how
like,
long it
no.
would take- You know how long if you had one,
Oh my
it
gosh.
broke into 2. You had to
Yeah,
feed
that's it.
5,000 people.
Yeah. And I would
Man.
think that most of the 5,000 people don't know where the food's coming from. Like, you can't see down there on the front row and see what they're doing. All you know is people are bringing baskets of food, and you're
might
eating
have
it.
seen Jesus lift up what looks, is that pizza? Like he looks up and says, that's snacks and stuff, and comes back down.
Yeah. So I don't know that the people were they might have been told later. Yeah, we started out with 5 loaves and 2 fish, and look what it became. And, who knows for sure? But I think probably just as you're working through the crowd, you're just like, here's a basket full of stuff for you guys, and they're all reaching in and grabbing
And
something.
then maybe they think, wow, Jesus prepared for this, or something like that.
Yeah,
right.
you'd have to
there's
think
some
so.
kind of like, if this isn't a miracle, which they haven't really seen before. Now you can take this whole story and think about how Jesus is operating as like a second Moses and stuff too. So there's like a lot of things that Jesus is doing. Think about manna from heaven. The people know this from way back in the past about how God rained down manna and quail and stuff for the people in the wilderness. We're in a desolate place.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Jesus setting everybody down into groups. Think about the 12 tribes and everything. And then here comes this bread from heaven that's now being passed out and everything too. But I don't know what the people would think.
Yeah. I don't know if they were completely aware.
Yeah.
But they were hungry, because how much did they eat?
Well, they ate until they were full.
Okay, it wasn't even like...
Still 12 baskets of leftovers.
Right. So we started out with these 5 hamburger buns and a couple of sardines. And people have enough, not just to... that was good. That little bite. That was really good. They get to eat as much as they want to complete satisfaction, and there's leftovers. There's some left over. So it wasn't just that they scraped by. It wasn't just that they got morsels. Jesus completely filled their stomachs, right? If you're the disciples and you knew what you started out with, and then you're picking up the leftovers, and they're picking up 12 basketfuls of leftovers, like, what's your reaction?
I think I wouldn't say anything. It's just kind of dumbfounded.
Yeah, and it doesn't get. I mean, there's sometimes where the disciples are amazed, right? When he calmed the storm, they're like, "Oh my gosh, who is this?" You know, Mark doesn't give us any details to the disciples' reaction here.
In fact,
Probably
he's-
get to eat, 'cause it doesn't
Yeah,
say
it
that.
doesn't say they did. They're still working.
You-
Feed everybody else.
They're still working. Yeah, they did.
That's right. That's right. That's right. They
They
got to
said,
eat
"Here,
with
everybody
them.
got their fill." Okay.
Yeah. Or they ate the leftovers after they grabbed it back up. I don't know.
To your point, the next verse is that then immediately they go get in the boat. Like, it's like
Yeah.
we don't spend any time on what just happened. Like, let's talk about this, and we're going to spend some time in the desolate desert place to rest, right? No, they're just going again.
Yeah. So, I don't know. There's a couple things that have always stood out to me about this story. Besides just, the power of God on display. Two things. One, as we look at everybody getting their fill or getting full enough to have leftovers, I think there's a spiritual application there. I think Jesus is demonstrating something about himself and about the Father, and the fact that these people didn't even know, at least when they showed up, they didn't know, not just that this was going to happen. I don't think they even knew that they were going to be hungry. Like, that wasn't what they showed up for, was the meal. Now, when you read the story in John, Jesus gets on to the people later and saying, that's the only reason you guys show back up again is to get another meal. But that's a story for another time. But just when Jesus shows up and he sees these people, they're like sheep without a shepherd. And sheep sometimes don't even know what it is they need. They have to have a shepherd lead them to a place of safety, lead them to water, lead them to grass, because they don't know not just where to find it, they're not even aware in that moment that's what they need. Lead them away from danger, because they're not aware of it. And Jesus has this crowd in front of him that is listening to his teaching. They need his teaching. I mean, he's providing that. But then also, like, they need food because they're going to pass out on the road trying to get home. They're going to get hungry, and Jesus provides that need for them. So I think there's something to be said about what God does for us sometimes, many times, is even providing for us in ways that we weren't even aware that we needed that provision. I didn't know I needed that person in my life. I didn't know I needed that particular, strength or help from God. I didn't know I needed those circumstances to work out the way they did. You know what I'm saying? That God provides sometimes in ways that I wasn't even aware that I needed in the first place. Not only that, let's take that a step further. God doesn't just scrape by when he blesses us. God doesn't just say, okay, here's a little morsel of blessing. Okay. Don't use that all in one place. You savor it a little bit. That when God says, I'm going to bless you, whether that's a physical need, whether that's a relationship need, whether that's a spiritual need, if it's something that's coming from God, it is fully supplied. Does that make sense? What did Jesus say in Matthew chapter 5? Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Why? Because they'll be filled. They'll be filled. I'm not going to give you just, if you really want to pursue this relationship with me, it's not just going to be half-hearted. It's not going to be just kind of a glimpse. I will fill you. We will have a complete and full connection with each other. Paul says in Philippians chapter 4, our God will supply all of our needs through Christ Jesus. It's not just little bits that might barely help us hang on. When God is ready to fully bless us, he fully blesses us. Jesus said, I've come that they may have life to what? Full. To the full, abundantly, overflowing. Okay? And you see that on display here. He didn't just give them a biteful and say, well, that should last you until you get home. They ate to their full and had leftovers. Because that's what God does when he blesses us. I don't know, anything else that you want to pull out of this?
No, I think it's just it's something that we got to struggle with and stuff too, where God's able to do more than we can ever ask or imagine. So let's just kind of open up our brains a little bit and see, man, what would happen. I was talking to Jake Keene about a fundraiser that he's trying to set up for Maud, who's got brain cancer. And so we were talking about that. And I'd said, I was like, hey, man, set your goal of where you think we're going to get to, and then set the God goal of like, this is probably what we can do by our human standards, but maybe God will do this. And he was like, oh, I have every expectation that that's where God's going to go. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, let's go for it.
But the other piece of it, and the one that is more usually kind of convicts me, is when when his disciples see this crowd and are wanting to dismiss them home. And even if they are legitimately saying these people need food, even if that's a legit concern on their part, what is Jesus' initial response to that? What does he tell his disciples?
Go take care of it.
You do it. You give them something to eat. And there's a conviction sometimes for me where, there's a need in the community or a need in our church or maybe a need from a next door neighbor. And I'm like, boy, somebody should do something. Somebody should help them.
If you really cared about them, you would send somebody to do something.
God, do something. And I think there's times where God's like, you give them something to eat. You take action. You initiate the conversation. You offer them a ride. You know, whatever the thing is. And if you don't have the ability to do it, you go find somebody that can. Go find the loaves and fish. Like, I'm ready to do whatever it is I need, but I'm wanting to use you in the process. And I'm like, well, somebody's got more training. That's not really my gift. That's somebody else's gift.
God's like, it's you. God sends somebody. Yeah, it's you. Oh, if you could just meet their needs.
I have sent someone. It's you.
In God's eyes, you are somebody.
That's
Yeah,
right.
buddy.
That's right. But I think that's
Only I sent somebody.
I think that's something that should resonate with us, though. That sometimes we need to kind of catch ourselves from when we see the need to actually take the initiative on our own part to do something about it. You know, again, even if it's I don't know what to do, but I can go find somebody who does, because that's what they did, right? You give them something to eat, and they're kind of questioning it. It'll take $18,000. I don't have $18,000. And, you know, you take it a step further, they're in a remote place. Even if they went to the closest town, what what marketplace is going to have enough food?
And how are they getting it back?
For 5,000 people? How are they going to transport it? Yeah. I mean, there's so many things about the logistics of trying to feed these people in our feeble human minds, even trying to make that happen. And yet that was what Jesus' first response was. You give them something to eat. And they're like, we can't. And he's like, well, what have you got right now? 5 hamburger buns and a couple of fish? Perfect. Let's do something with that. And I think, again, that's something for us. Like, I don't have the talent. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the gift or the ability. I haven't had experience with that before. Well, what do you have? And whatever it is, God sometimes might be like, you know what? That's perfect. Let's start there. Let's start with the conversation, or let's start with the volunteering, or let's, initiate the activity, whatever it is.
I like that too. It's just, I think it also just starts with like the broken heart towards whatever cause that is.
Yeah.
God's like, what are you gonna do? He's like, I don't know. You feel pretty strongly about this. Maybe we can figure something out. And like, I don't have the resources. He's like, But the fact that you're feeling something and that you feel like that something needs to be done, maybe you are the catalyst that's gonna ignite something. I don't know, buddy. Why don't we just take a little step forward?
Let's start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just so there's kind of lessons from this miracle, and I don't want to jump into the next part of Mark 6 because
the disciples get into this.
So, but I will say just one other thing. There's a couple of different opinions about where this miracle took place. Did y'all talk about it when you were actually there?
Like in Bethsaida, or I'm sorry, in this spot.
Yeah. Like where it was?
Actually, in my ESV commentary, they were like, "Hey, Luke says that it's in this spot," and so there wasn't a question about where it was going to be. So I want to hear what you're thinking.
Well, where does Luke say it was?
They said it was in Bethsaida.
That's because that's where they end up after Jesus walks on the water. They end up in Bethsaida, and that's where he sends them to. So if you look at
Interesting. Okay.
Verse 45, immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to Bethsaida while he dismissed the crowd. So they're in a remote place. So they're not at Bethsaida because they're in a remote place.
Yeah, if he's going to walk.
So there's a couple of different opinions. Again, if we had a picture of the Sea of Galilee, kind of on the north central part of it is Capernaum.
Oh man, that's not great.
That's all right.
We have one from when you gave it to us a long time ago.
Do you?
Do you?
Nice.
Oh, look at you. Okay,
What
let
did
me
you
see.
say? Oh, nice.
So yeah, thank you. Oh, this is from when we were doing the Old Testament stuff, but that's okay. I can show you right here. So,
Still there.
yeah, so Capernaum is basically right. Yeah, about right there.
Cap.
Yeah, Bethsaida is over this way. This way.
This way. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
right there.
Right here.
Yeah. And then down here where your other point is, on the side, yep, that would be Magdala. Here you go, Lou.
Nice.
Okay, so the reason I'm showing you this, Capernaum is where Jesus kind of makes it kind of his unofficial headquarters, right? He's come there multiple times, and comes back there multiple times. And so we've talked about Capernaum, and it could be that's where the disciples and him met back up after he sent them out. Okay, they're going to end up at Bethsaida, and so some people think that basically it's 7 miles down the road from Capernaum to Bethsaida, and it's 6 miles down the road from Capernaum to Magdala. So, he went one of the two directions. Bethsaida and that side of the lake is a little bit more remote. There's not as many towns, or at least big cities, on that side. There's bigger cities on the west side of the Sea of Galilee. Okay, besides Magdala.
And this is where he did the Legion. Right?
Yeah, probably south of it. Yeah, in that area. So it would be a little bit more remote, probably, if he went like south of Bethsaida. Okay. On the other hand, if they're just running down the road, and people are following, if they're in the boat and people are following down the road and picking up other people in other towns along the way, there's a greater possibility of that happening because there's more towns on the west side of him heading towards Magdala. Because Magdala, the reason I keep bringing up Magdala, first of all, it's where Mary Magdalene was from. But Magdala itself was a fairly significant town back in this time because of the fishing industry. It had a harbor. There were a lot of fishing, that happened there. But it also had, that was where you brought your fish. A lot of times, a lot of people brought their fish there. And I'm saying they've excavated a lot of ancient Magdala over the last 50, 60 years. And have discovered it had a huge harbor. And it had all these places where they would do a lot of the salting and the preserving. Like, it was where you brought your fish to get ready to sell, and so it would kind of make sense if somebody's got bread and fish to be close to that particular area, right? The other thing is, I don't know if you knew this, there's a little bit further, not very far, a little further west of Magdala is a mountain. I say mountain, not a huge mountain, but a mountain called Mount Arbel, Arbel, that you've probably got pictures of
That I don't know of.
that you didn't know. But if you go to the top of it, you can see across the entire lake. You can see across the entire Sea of Galilee, every single part of it, and it's not huge high. So this next story that we're going to look at for Jesus, after he dismisses his disciples into a boat, he goes up on a mountainside to pray and sees them struggling in the boat. Well, there's a pretty good chance he would have a greater chance, maybe a greater chance of that on Mount Arbel to look across. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of looking all the way down.
In the grand scheme of things, does it matter? No. There's two different opinions as far as where this particular miracle took place. Two predominant opinions. That's either south of Bethsaida or somewhere between Capernaum and Magdala is where it would have taken place, for whatever it's
I
worth.
understand how they could walk around it faster than the boat could go across it.
The only thing my commentary says was maybe they had some wind, against
Fighting against them?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they could just be floating along, man. They didn't put the sail up. They're just kind of hey, let's chill. I mean, they're relaxing in the boat, too.
I mean, and think to us, this lake might appear grandiose in our heads of this thing is massive, and I mean it's big in its own thing, but we could walk across. We could not walk across it. Jesus could walk across it. We could walk around it in not a ton of time.
Yeah, because you even showed a picture where you're on one bank and you can see across to the complete opposite side.
Yeah.
So.
If Lou and I are walking,
No,
we can make
no,
it.
I'm thinking Maryland. Remember when she was walking all around the lake out at Lake Atlantis or whatever it was? Whatever it's called? What's that lake out there? It's not
Lake Atalanta?
Atlanta, yeah. I can never remember that. It just seems
Atalanta.
Atlanta. She was walking all the way around that.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is as small as...
It's not as small as that.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, it's bigger than that, but still, it's just a big lake. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Like I said, from Capernaum to Bethsaida, just walking on the road is 7 miles, and it's 6 miles that way. So that's just going around the top half of the lake. You're looking at 13
you could
miles.
see to the other side and see like lights, and you could probably see the sails of ships and stuff like
Mhm.
that, ships, boats and stuff like
Yeah.
that over there. Maybe not people though.
Yeah. So it's not huge. So it wouldn't be impossible, and especially if they're not like, man, let's paddle fast and get away from these people. If they're just kind of floating along, it wouldn't take that long.
Let's go.
Yeah. It wouldn't take that long.
Who was this miracle performed for? Because in the next part of the story, it says that the disciples went ahead while Jesus stayed and dismissed the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
He could have just as easily dismissed them the day before he fed them. So, you know what I'm saying? So, was it for the apostles? They already knew he could do miracles. If it was for the people, then he wants to leave them. He didn't even explain anything. He just wants to send them away. Or is it just for us? I mean, what?
I think, in answer to your question, I think the target audience for getting something out of this miracle was probably more for his disciples than it was the crowd themselves.
Okay.
Because again, like we just talked about, like they are seeing these seemingly insurmountable circumstances. We can't do anything for this crowd. And he's like, yeah, you can. And then he shows them, because that's what a rabbi does. He shows his disciples how to do stuff, right? So that's what he did. He took a small lunch and fed 5,000 people. Well, what's he saying? You guys can do this too, you know. So I think that piece of it is more for the disciples. Like, take a step of faith and you know, pray big and have bigger expectations. Don't limit yourself to just your own physical and mental limitations. God's bigger than that. Now, did the crowd benefit from that? We don't know what he said when he dismissed the crowd.
Now we know that
Like-
he had been teaching them and was teaching them for a long time, to where the disciples were like, "Hey, wrap it up, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's get them going."
But the miracle itself, I don't know if Jesus is like, hey, I hope y'all enjoyed lunch. That was on me. You know, I don't know if he did that
Put
or
your faith
not.
in me. Woo.
We do know, again, from John's telling of it, there was some awareness, at least in the crowd, that Jesus had performed this miracle. So word is spreading through the groups, like, man, where'd all this bread and fish come from? Oh, Jesus manufactured it out of nothing. You know, like the story got around. Because the next thing, when John tells us, is when the crowd shows up, Jesus is like, well, y'all had supper, now you want breakfast. That's the only reason. He kind of gets on to him a little bit. That's the only reason you're here. So I think there was an awareness on the crowd's part. This is an impressive miracle. But I think the teaching, the lesson to be learned behind the miracle was more for his disciples than it was the crowd. Does that answer your question?
It does, because
Okay.
I was trying to sit here and think, so why did he do it?
Yeah. I think it's for the disciples, but I think this is just another. This is Mark still going through this. You know, who do you think that Jesus really is? Well, he's a miracle worker. Okay, well, what does that even mean? You know, he can make people's fevers go away, and then like even some of the miracles just get a little bit bigger. He heals a guy that is paralyzed. He heals a leper. That's really impressive. He raised a little girl from the dead. Holy cow. You know, it's like it just gets a little bit more, you know, he controls the weather. So he's done all these amazing things. What else is there to check off on the list? Oh, he creates food out of nothing and feeds 5,000 people with it, you know, and it's just,
I didn't know that was on my bingo card, but I'm adding it right now.
yeah. It's something that they wouldn't have even known to expect or even wonder if he could do, and yet it just adds to their faith. They're like, oh, this really is the Messiah. This is the one that we should follow. And he's got one more supernatural thing to show him at the end of Mark chapter 6, and that's where we'll put a bookmark. We'll hit that next week. So, thanks for the time.
Thank you. I've been a part of a miracle like that in Honduras.
Of the feeding?
Ooh, I want to hear.
Yes.
How so?
We,
Should we turn the microphones this way?
I led a Honduras mission trip for 16 years or so from Greater
they stayed unto themselves.
Mhm.
Married within that 88 people.
Wow.
And they were hungry. They were living off of the yucca plant. They called it sausal.
Mhm.
And they hadn't had meat in years. And yet we were staying at a ranch that brought us a hot lunch every day.
Yeah.
Like from 50 kilometers away. But they would bring it to us. And the kids, they were like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
You know, that they're all leaving our Bible school and we're out working in the village, and then they take us into this little one-room school building and feed us this food.
Yeah.
So we had a devotional one night, and they were like, let's fast. And we were putting in concrete floors and
Yeah.
and give them our food. Well, they're sending us food for 23 people.
Right.
And we just asked them at the ranch, could you just give us a roll of foil? And they did. They just sent a roll of foil with the food. And what it was a tub of rice, a tub of chicken, and 2 loaves of sliced bread. There are 88 people. And so our kids, you know, at noon, we told the leader of the village, he's like 75 years old, and he wanted the kids to eat because he
Yeah.
saw.
Right.
And so he lined the village up with a kids line and then the adults. And he was very adamant these kids are going to eat.
Mhm.
And so we had this assembly line, and someone tore off a piece of foil, and then they would put a spoonful of rice, a piece of chicken, and a piece of bread folded up.
And hand it to
take
them.
To the kids, the ones in line.
Right.
And I'm like, that chicken's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, just
That's only enough
Yeah.
for 23, you said?
well, they brought
Like-
for 23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we get, like, someone's counting, and we get into the 30s maybe, and they're like, they call me Coachy, Coach Levi.
Morgan told me to
we're
call you
out-
that, by the way.
We're out of food, and I'm thinking, so I just said, I didn't go over there. Thank God I didn't go over there. I just said, then give them more rice. And they were like, we're out of rice. And so we had this young leader with us that she had just talked about prayer the night before. She goes, well, what should we do? And someone said, well, we could give them a half slice of bread, and we could just give them little pieces of. She's like, what should we do? And one of our seniors said, we need to pray.
Yeah.
And everything we just stopped. I remember it was one of our senior girls. She just prayed this simple prayer: Lord, help us feed this village. And they went back to work. And as long as someone was in line, they got a scoop of rice, they got a piece of chicken, and a piece of bread.
That's
And
crazy.
by the time they were done, some people from another village had come over. They had fed 96 people.
Wow.
And everybody got the same. And so after we had fed everyone in line, I went over to look. Not a grain of rice left. The bread was all gone,
Yeah.
and there were 3 pieces of chicken.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yes. And I was, okay, so I was astonished.
Yeah.
So I know what the apostles
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
And we gave the chicken to a family that had a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And so we knew we were part of a miracle.
Sure.
When we got home and the kids started telling their parents, we got things like, well, what did you do? You know, did you turn your back and then look back and there's just full or whatever? And they were just like, they couldn't, none of us could explain it. They were
Yeah.
like, no, as long as someone was lying, they got a scoop of rice, piece of chicken, piece of bread.
Yeah.
And then it was gone,
Yeah.
except for the thing I knew was going to be gone.
Yeah.
So even when we got back to school and they told the story in chapel, I had a Bible teacher come up and say, "Why did you lie to the kids?" And
Bless.
another person that heard it said, "Now what's the real story?" And I'm like, I spend my time saying, "Lord, don't let me take that miracle out of your hands."
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
About we fed 96 people.
That's awesome.
And
It's so inspiring.
Yeah, because you could either try to explain it away, like, oh, maybe the restaurant sent too much, or
No,
whatever.
No,
But
but so here's why I'm thankful I didn't go over there and look.
yeah,
Yeah.
When they said they're out of rice, because I said, all right, guys, we're done.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
God's like,
That's so cool.
God was like, "Don't look with your eyes, because I'm doing something
yeah,
different."
Yeah.
I mean, they kept me away from that. I just,
Yeah,
See,
Oh,
That's
it's
awesome.
so
That's
cool.
a wonderful
I
story,
love
and I
that.
think that we limit God a lot more.
Oh,
than
for
we do,
sure.
You know,
For
because
sure.
of- yeah, because He says anything you ask in My name, believing, it
I'll
will be
give it to you.
granted.
Mhm.
So, I think we limit God in what we ask Him for. because,
Absolutely.
It's
Yep.
not that He wouldn't do it if we asked. We just don't ask.
He's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, just don't look. Just let me
Yeah.
work."
Yeah,
go over there and look. Just let it go.
yeah.
Let it keep going.
That's awesome.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go home and meditate on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We should probably turn the stream off at
But-
some point.
Oh yeah.
It was
I'll go
also
get it real quick.
for a good. It wasn't a selfish thing. It wasn't like they wanted more food for themselves.
Right.
They were
Sounds
wanting
like
to feed
they're
others.
trying to help others.
chicken left over.
Oh my word.
That's
that
crazy.
Was, I'm like,
The
oh.
chicken, like maybe a couple of pieces of bread or something, but